Look, I've spent more hours inside the star-studded walls of the Star than I have in my own living room lately, and let me tell you, the smell of desperation is starting to outweigh the scent of victory. We are staring down the barrel of a 3-year playoff drought, something this city hasn't endured in over a decade, and the front office's response is to play musical chairs with the practice squad while the NFC East rivals are sharpening their blades. It's a slap in the face to every fan who bleeds silver and blue, and quite frankly, it's a distraction from the structural rot that led to a 7-9-1 season. I am Carlos Eduardo, and today we're having a real talk about the state of this franchise because someone has to be the voice of reason in a building full of yes men. The news of the Cowboys re-signing Will Grier isn't just a depth move. It's a symptom of a front office that is terrified of the unknown. We've seen this movie before. Grier has been on and off this roster more times than I can count, and while he's a good locker room guy, good locker room guys don't win you games on the money downs when the bright lights of Jerry World are blinding everyone else. From my perspective, this signing is a massive vote of no confidence in Joe Milton III's immediate readiness. I've watched the film on Milton, and the kid has the physical profile of a superhero, but he's still reading defenses like they're written in a foreign language. By bringing Grier back, Stephen Jones is essentially telling us that if Dak Prescott's calf or shoulder so much as twitches, they'd rather roll with a guy who hasn't thrown a regular season touchdown since the Trump administration than trust the high-upside rookie they drafted to be the future. If I'm being honest with Cowboys fans, this safety-first mentality is exactly why we are sitting at home in January. In the 90s, when Jerry and Jimmy were building a dynasty, every move was calculated for maximum impact. They weren't looking for old friends, they were looking for dogs who could execute under pressure. Now, we're celebrating the return of a third stringer who couldn't beat out a struggling backup in Carolina years ago. It's mediocre, it's safe, and it's quintessentially modern Cowboys. Let's look at the film from this past season and talk about why this quarterback room even matters. Our offense was a paradox. We had George Pickens playing like a man possessed, a true X-receiver who evokes memories of Michael Irvin's physical dominance. I watched Pickens snatch balls out of the air against double coverage that had no business being caught. He's the alpha this team needed. Then you have Javonte Williams, who brought back that gritty, north-south running style we've missed since the prime years of the 2010s. But despite having these weapons, we couldn't close out games. Why? Because the discipline wasn't there. The gap discipline on defense was non-existent, and the offensive line, once the pride of the NFL, looked like a revolving door on stunt pickups. Speaking of the defense, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Christian Parker. Jerry went out and poached a 34-year-old assistant from the Eagles to replace Matt Eberflus. Now, I like the move in theory. Poaching from a rival is always a power play, and Parker brings that Vic Fangio-inspired shell defense that is supposed to limit explosive plays. But what I see on the film is a roster that isn't built for a finesse system. We traded Micah Parsons, the heart and soul of our pass rush, to Green Bay in a move that I still believe was a strategic surrender. In return, we got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. Now, don't get me wrong, having those two in the middle is like having two Mack trucks parked on the A-gap. They are elite. They demand double teams. But who is taking advantage of that? My analysis of the film shows a secondary that is lost without a consistent edge rush. Shavon Revel has the tools, but he's getting burned on double moves because he's playing hero ball instead of trusting the system. If Parker can't instill a sense of tactical accountability in these young DBs, it won't matter if we have the best interior defensive line in football. The NFC East is a gauntlet. The Eagles are only getting faster, and the Commanders are building a physical identity that mirrors what we used to be. We cannot afford to be a work-in-progress defense in 2026. The salary cap situation is another area where I have to be blunt. Stephen Jones is talking about wanting to retain Pickens and Williams, but the math is getting ugly. Pickens is looking at a deal that will likely reset the market, or at the very least, require a massive franchise tag hit. From my perspective, you pay the man. You don't let a talent like that walk away when Dak is in the twilight of his prime. But to pay Pickens, you have to make hard choices elsewhere. This is where the Micah trade was supposed to help clearing cap space. But if we don't use that space to solidify the offensive line and the secondary, we're just shifting the leak to a different part of the boat. I look at the draft capital we have this year: 2 first-round picks, Exec 12 and Exec 20. This is the get-out-of-jail-free card for Jerry Jones. If I'm in that war room, I'm not looking for projects, I'm looking for day-one starters. At Hexac 12, you need an edge rusher who can replace at least 70% of Micah's production. You need a guy who can win on the outside, while Quinnen and Kenny Clark are collapsing the pocket from the inside. At Egadish 20, you have to look at a shutdown corner or a plug-and-play tackle. We cannot continue to rely on veteran stopgaps and old friends, like Will Grier, to fill out a roster that is supposed to be competing for a Lombardi trophy. The ghost of the 90s dynasty hangs heavy over AT&T Stadium. I remember the atmosphere when Eichmann, Smith, and Irvin took the field. There was an inevitability to their success. You knew that on 3rd and long, Irvin was coming down with the ball. You knew that on the money downs, the defense would get a stop. Today, that inevitability is gone, replaced by a sense of hope that things might just work out. But hope isn't a strategy. What I see on the film from the 7-9-1 season is a team that lacks a killer instinct. We blew leads against the Giants and the Commanders because we played not to lose instead of to win. We got cute with the play calling in the red zone. I've seen enough fades to the corner to last a lifetime. We need to get back to the basics of America's team, dominating the line of scrimmage, imposing our will on the ground, and using the bright lights of our home turf to intimidate opponents, not distract ourselves. The signing of Will Grier, while minor in the grand scheme of the 53-man roster, tells me that the Cowboys are still obsessed with the process rather than the result. They value the comfort of a player who knows the playbook over the necessity of a player who can change the game. If I'm being honest, I'm worried that we're wasting the best years of George Pickens' career and the remaining mobility of Dak Prescott. We have the draft picks. We have the interior defensive stars. We have the star on the helmet. Now we need the guts to actually go all in. My strategic outlook for this offseason is simple. Stop playing it safe. Lock up Pickens. Lock up Williams. Use those first-round picks to rebuild the edge and the secondary. And for the love of Tom Landry, let Christian Parker actually coach this defense with a sense of aggression that reflects the Cowboys' legacy. We don't need old friends. We need champions. We need guys who understand that playing for the Dallas Cowboys isn't just a job, it's a responsibility to a fan base that has been patient for far too long. The road to the Super Bowl goes through the NFC East, and right now we're the ones lagging behind. It's time to stop talking about next year and start making moves that matter today. The pursuit of that 6th ring isn't going to happen by accident. It's going to happen through ruthless talent acquisition and a refusal to settle for mediocrity. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In Dallas, you're either a legend or a footnote. It's time for this 2026 squad to decide which one they want to be. I'll be here, as always, breaking down the film, calling out the failures, and looking for that spark of greatness that I know is still buried somewhere under the glitz and glamour of Jerry World. Because at the end of the day, there is only one team that carries the weight of a nation's expectations, and that's the Dallas Cowboys.